My fiancée has strictly forbidden me from speaking to any of her best friends until after we're officially married, claiming it's about boundaries and trust. But now that I've questioned this unusual rule, she's begun reconsidering our entire engagement, leaving me confused, hurt, and wondering what she's really trying to hide. You and your fiancé, aged 28 and 32 respectively, have been together for 2.5 years. Much of your relationship has been visible online, with frequent posts of your time together on social media, clearly indicating your relationship status. While you have a wide online presence, she has a smaller, more private network of real-life friends, about 7 or 8 close friends and a cousin. Both of you are mature adults and had planned to marry in November or December of this year, 2024. Last month, you introduced her to your family, who approved and were ready to set a wedding date. However, she felt it was too soon, so you both agreed to postpone the wedding to February 2025. Given the need to book venues in advance in your area, you secured a hall with her agreement, and she later booked one for her side as well, which is customary in your culture. You've introduced her to your family and one female friend, all in planned settings. She also met another friend by chance at the mall. In contrast, you've only briefly encountered her friends on a couple of occasions, typically when giving them rides, and while they knew you were dating, there wasn't a proper introduction. A strange incident occurred last week. A friend of hers messaged you on Instagram. You'd only ever messaged this friend once before, a year ago, when you and your fiancé had a disagreement. At that time, you'd politely asked her friend to speak with your fiancé, as you felt your fiancé was going through a tough time with financial issues and conflict with both you and her family. Your fiancé was furious about your message and told you never to speak to her friend again. You complied, and her friend then blocked you. Now, last week, this same friend messaged you because she couldn't reach your fiancé and was worried. You calmly responded, assuring her that your fiancé was likely busy and that you'd pass on her message. When you told your fiancé, she became upset, asking why her friend was texting you and insisting you block her. You found this request odd and immature, so you refused. Your fiancé then stated that if you wouldn't block her, her friend would, and moments later, you found yourself blocked again. This second blocking incident angered you, leading you to message her friend on another Instagram account. You expressed your displeasure, stating that her actions were disrespectful and added that her husband wouldn't text your girlfriend if they were having issues. Her friend responded, asserting that she, her husband, and your fiancé were close, long before you entered the picture. You then calmly explained that you didn't intend to disrupt their friendship but felt disrespected by being blocked twice when you simply wanted to communicate or get to know them. She didn't reply. When you informed your fiancé, she became extremely angry, specifically about your mention of her friend's husband. You felt it was a reasonable way to convey your feelings. You've been serious about this relationship, introducing her to your family and friends. Given her limited family, her parents passed away, and cousins live far away, her friends are expected to be a significant presence at your wedding. You therefore expected her to take your desire to connect with them more seriously and at least not instruct them to block you. She often visits this friend's house, sometimes staying for sleepovers or attending parties with the friend and her husband. Despite expressing your interest in joining these gatherings and meeting her friends, she's firmly against it. This blocking incident has deeply bothered you. Your fiancé claims her past boyfriends caused trouble with her friends, and she doesn't want to repeat. While this might have been understandable earlier in your relationship, you're now 6 months from marriage. She's still hesitant, stating she'll only introduce you after the wedding. She also expects these friends to assist with wedding arrangements on her side, which makes your inability to communicate with them problematic for the upcoming preparations. You haven't spoken to your fiancé for 2 days because of this, and she's now questioning the marriage, claiming your desire to meet her friends indicates a controlling nature. You anticipate she'll contact you soon. You've been asking yourself if your desire to meet her friends is reasonable and what you should do. You've also pondered what information she might be hiding that her friends might inadvertently reveal. Recent revelations just recently, you made a shocking discovery. Your fiancé's mother, whom she has consistently referred to as deceased, is, in fact, alive. A few weeks prior, the same married friend of your fiancé, with a child, had messaged you seeking to know your fiancé's whereabouts because she couldn't reach her. Upon learning this, Your fiancée immediately asked you to block her friend, and when you refused, she had the friend block you. This incident made you deeply distrustful. Your fiancée has always maintained that she has no family, stating she's an only child and both parents have passed. She regularly visited her countryside home every 3 to 4 months, staying for 2 or 3 days, claiming her aunt was the only person living there. However, things seemed off. When she received calls, the contact name often displayed Dad, home, but a woman would speak, whom she always identified as her aunt. Your fiancé has already met your parents, and your wedding was set for February. Your parents, however, became wary of the secrecy and the blocking incident, despite your attempts to dismiss it as a generational difference. Your parents, driven by their concern for your safety, even visited your fiancé's office last week to discreetly inquire about her parents, though her colleague didn't have much information. You acknowledge their method was inappropriate, but understand their apprehension. You later discussed this with them, and they agreed not to approach her at work again, but urged you to conduct your own research. Considering your parents' perspective and the whole situation, your impatience grew. Your fiancé's strict refusal to let you communicate with or even follow any of her friends or relatives on social media became more puzzling. Her stated reason for not introducing you to her family was that they would not approve of an inter-caste marriage, claiming such unions are still not widely accepted in some parts of India. Yet, she would often contradict herself by saying her parents were open-minded and had given her a modern upbringing, while criticizing your family as suspicious and backward. She also used to say that if her parents were alive, they would definitely attend the wedding. Initially, your parents liked your fiancé and were happy about the marriage. Your father even offered to cover her wedding expenses due to her financial struggles. However, their suspicion grew when she had her best friend block you. All these factors escalated your suspicions, prompting you to visit her countryside village house today. You went there under the guise of looking for someone else. When you knocked, her mother answered the door. You recognized her from photos your fiancé had shown you. It was truly a shocking encounter. Her mother appeared healthy and happy, bearing a striking resemblance to your fiancé. You and your fiancé haven't been on good terms since your parents visited her office. She called your parents crazy and accused your community of being clever, cunning, and crazy for their suspicious spying, but she never admitted to her own significant deception. While you conceded that your parents' actions at her office were wrong, you also pointed out the hypocrisy of her remarks about your family, given her suspicious behavior, her insistence that friends and family block you, and her monumental lie about her mother's death. You haven't confronted her about this latest discovery. You're left wondering if there could possibly be any valid explanation or justification for such a profound lie. Her mother seemed perfectly fine, appearing to be in her 50s or 60s. You also confirmed from locals that her father had indeed passed away, and her mother was living with her aunt in an adjacent house. The consensus among those you've spoken with is that this is an enormous betrayal of trust, making a future with her seem impossible. The situation is considered bizarre, with significant red flags, including what appears to be gaslighting. The advice is to cancel the marriage and confront her directly about the lie. Second story, celiac disease and misunderstandings. This is a really tough situation you've been through, and it's completely understandable why you're hesitant to share your diagnosis. It takes a lot of courage to live with an invisible illness, especially when your experiences have led to such painful misunderstandings. Your parents divorced when you were young, with your mother having custody for most of the year and your father during the summers. You disliked going to your father's house, not just because he was stubborn and rude, but also because you'd consistently become violently ill there, experiencing nausea, rashes, pain, muscle cramps, and eventually missing periods as you got older. A doctor dismissed your symptoms as psychosomatic and suggested therapy, which your father refused, deeming it total crap. Your mother took you a few times, but by then your symptoms had subsided, making it hard to assess the therapy's effectiveness. One of your biggest frustrations was your father's unhealthy eating habits and his relentless mockery when you tried to eat healthily, which you believed was linked to his dislike of your health-conscious mother. He'd even throw out carrots you snuck into the house. At your mother's home, you ate vegetables and organic chicken, and if a food made you sick, you simply avoided it. This led to a habit of declining any food offered, unsure if it was safe, explaining it away as being a picky eater. At 16, a new girl at school became your friend. After a couple of months, you noticed she avoided all the same foods as you. When you casually mentioned this, she became concerned and revealed she had celiac disease, urging you to get tested. Sure enough, you had it. Everything finally made sense, and you were so relieved that you eagerly shared the news with everyone you considered a friend. Their initial reactions seemed fine, but you soon noticed them slowly drifting away. When you confronted your closest friend, she admitted they all thought you were faking it for attention, having only heard of gluten-free diets as a fad. You broke down, explaining the horrors of your time at your father's house and your disbelief. That she didn't believe you. She was horrified, becoming your staunchest supporter. She tried to talk to the others, but they remained unconvinced, believing you were lying. You both decided it was best to end those friendships. You had two more summers with your father after your diagnosis. He reacted even worse than your former friends, screaming that you thought you were superior, fabricating medical problems for attention, and that he wouldn't tolerate it. You offered to take him to the doctor, but he dismissed medical professionals as scam artists. It was awful, escalating to him sabotaging your food and cursing at you when you became ill. Consequently, you became very cautious about discussing your disease. Between your personal experiences and witnessing gluten-free diets being ridiculed on TV and the internet, you decided you weren't comfortable telling new people, despite feeling it was cowardly due to your fear of judgment. This is your last summer with your father, and you've decided it's easier to endure these final 3 weeks and then leave for good, dismissing any advice to leave earlier or contact authorities. Now, you're facing a new challenge. You and your best friend have joined a new group of friends, about 10 or 11 people, with whom you play role-playing games every weekend since May. Yesterday, your best friend informed you that the rest of the group has been discussing you behind your back. They've connected your consistent refusal of food, your pickiness, your recent weight loss, and your illness while living with your father, and concluded you have anorexia. They're planning an intervention for you next weekend. You're unsure how to handle this. You know you should tell them, but you're terrified of their rejection. They've already formed an opinion, and you fear they'll dismiss your explanation as an excuse, given your past painful experiences of being called a liar. You feel another such incident would lead to a mental breakdown, as this disease has already deeply impacted your life, and you just wanted this part of your life to be separate from it. You desperately need to know how to explain your situation, so they'll believe you. Update on the intervention a few hours before the game. A friend named Zach, who hosts the games, texted you asking to come over early to discuss gaming terms. You suspected this was the intervention and texted your best friend, Laura, who followed you from your previous friend group, to see if she was invited. She wasn't, so you asked her to join you. Before heading to Zach's, you picked up some gluten-free Chinese food from a trusted restaurant, including your favorite vegetable fried rice, known for its careful cross-contamination practices. You brought the food, Laura, and your gaming supplies to Zach's. Zach seemed surprised by Laura's presence. You asked if it was an issue, stating that if complicated gaming discussions were happening, she should be involved. He awkwardly agreed. Then you asked if you could eat, explaining you'd missed lunch. He agreed, though he appeared alarmed. As you began eating, he started his prepared speech. He hadn't called you to discuss gaming. He and others had noticed things that concerned them, and they had chosen him to speak to you. You nodded. He listed off their observations. You rarely ate, seemed perpetually sick, were losing weight, and appeared uncomfortable and nervous when food was mentioned, always declining offers. Finally, he delivered the bombshell. His older sister has anorexia and exhibits similar behaviors, leading them to believe you might have it too. You swallowed your food and calmly stated you weren't anorexic. He began to ramble about how anorexic people never admit it, but something was clearly wrong with you. You cut him off, stating you did have a problem, but it wasn't anorexia, and asked if you could explain. He reluctantly agreed, seemingly fearing you'd claim you needed to lose weight. You paraphrased your explanation, feeling proud of yourself. You were losing weight unintentionally due to a disease that prevents you from eating grains like wheat, barley, and rye. Consuming them makes you very ill, damages your stomach, and hinders digestion, even of non-grain foods. It's not just an allergy. It causes serious long-term damage. Eating bread would lead to rashes, vomiting, and seemingly unrelated issues, like severe muscle cramps. You explained that you declined food offers like Doritos and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because they would make you violently ill, and you do so to protect your health. The recent resurgence of your symptoms, illness, and weight loss is because you're currently living in a family situation where you're forced to eat foods your body reacts badly to. When you first met them, you were with your mom, who accommodated your needs, but now your dad sabotages your food, believing you're faking your disease and that your doctor is a fraud. Zach pulled out actual note cards, revealing he had a pre-written script. He was quiet for a long time before asking a few questions. Why did you turn down Coke? Because it's nasty, but you didn't want to inconvenience them. Why hadn't you told them? Laura explained your past experiences and what food in his house you could eat. You were incredulous but answered, celery, no, yogurt, no, an apple, no. He still nodded. You then asked if he had air-popped popcorn, which he did, and you ate some in front of him. This finally seemed to convince him. He awkwardly shifted the conversation to gaming, and you discussed that until the others arrived. When Michael, another friend, arrived, Zach took him aside for a subtle conversation. They kept looking at you and weren't keeping their voices down very well. Michael asked if you seemed defensive, and Zach shrugged, saying, not really. You pointedly ate popcorn for the rest of the game. After the game, Michael texted you, apologizing for assuming you had anorexia and asking what snacks they could provide for you. You cried a little, relieved and touched by their immediate willingness to accommodate you, proving they are kind people.